of, what was the first thing you did?
I got up, and my lie detector wasn't with me. It was missing. And then I went to knock on your door and tell you about it, Victor.
Okay, yes, that is correct. I do remember that.
Okay.
And then it was our intention to confront the group when the actions of the saboteurs took place.
Mm-hmm.
Out of curiosity, because I don't think this has been established, this is a question for the court. When you and I arrived on the deck, who was
Yes. I think there was you, me, Gorn was there, I believe, Packer was there, and then the two brothers showed up, I believe. I believe that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, Victor.
That is what I remember. I'm not sure
that
if that's
is true.
correct, but I can't refute that because I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
If that is correct. If that is what the record shows, then that is correct.
Yeah, that's all we can, obviously memory is pretty fallible. That was a pretty intense moment. But that is also what I remember. Okay. First turn.
You know what's good about it is it's kind of a recap of the whole
everything.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
As best we remember anyway.
Putting you all on trial.
Jesus.
Except Packerman and me, apparently.
I mean, I said you could bring anyone up.
I don't even know why I'm on the stand, but okay.
There is one last.
I feel so accused.
There is one last thing that I regret to bring up, but unfortunately I must ask about it.
Okay. Go ahead.
During the events that followed, you and I met up.
Yes.
On this strange battlefield.
Yes.
Now, neither of us really know the nature of that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was a mystery.
Also, at the same time, Gorn and Packerman here, they met up somewhere and separated. When we finally met them, they were fighting someone.
Yes, they were.
And I leapt into battle, and I heard a gunshot go off.
Yes.
Behind me.
Yes.
And the only one who was injured, as far as I could tell, was Gorn. Did you shoot Gorn?
Quite direct. Yes, I did shoot Gorn.
Could you tell the court why you shot Gorn?
I think it goes... I need to talk a little bit about my history. I used to be a bandit, and I've told Gorn this as well. He can recount the conversation that I used to be a bandit, and there's a lot of like backstabbing and conniving when you're part of a bandit gang. I felt that things were very comfortable, and I felt that one of us was going to betray the group. And then when the ship went down, I identified that Gorn was probably the one that was working against me. And I used to be paranoid about this stuff, and maybe I'm still paranoid about it. Maybe it was the wrong thing to do. Yeah. I just, you, Victor, have attacked me multiple times. Gorn has almost attacked me multiple times. Gorn did the betrayal on the heresy layer. I think, Victor, that we've sort of worked out, I hope that you and me have worked out our problems a little bit. I have had conversations with Packer. A couple. I think me and Packer, and maybe some of his other personalities, I think we work well together. But as I have said in conversations with you, as you've heard me say in conversations, Victor, that I had suspicions of Gorn, and I also had the gun. So maybe it was the wrong decision. I don't know. Do I regret it a little bit? Maybe I do.
All right.
So, and before out of game, I would basically say I would kind of lean over to my counsel, Victor, and feed him some questions to ask.
Just ask them.
You're free to ask questions.
You can ask some questions.
The questions I'd like to start with, I think Victor will word better, is since we're trying to uncover the person who is a fraud, who is false.
Yes.
Let's go back to some questions from Victor about the thing that brought us to blows originally, about the concealment of the orb that allowed you to move from different planes, and how that happened. And did you actually hide it? Did you conceal it? All that stuff.
I did not hide the orb. I did not conceal the orb.
We're waiting for the zap.
I don't think that's coming. I'm pretty sure he's being honest.
That's honesty.
No, do you know who concealed it or who hid it?
I'm not sure who hid or concealed the orb.
I don't believe he's ever seen the orb.
Well, he had it and he put it in his backpack, so he's seen the orb.
Remember, I was unconscious, right? Because I took the brunt of that giant monster's attack in the face.
Which giant monster are we talking about? The boss or me?
The boss. You're not a monster, Victor. You're just angry sometimes.
But
You're a good
Victor
guy.
did knock you out the second time.
Yes, Victor did knock me out the second. I was knocked out multiple times. I almost died multiple times on that layer trying to get this orb.
Which basically proves, okay, if that's true, then we definitely have to put the 6 multiple personality person back on there, because we're trying to find the person who's false and ask them.
He's not on trial.
Mr. Gorn, this is your trial.
We can put anybody on there. We're putting the lawyers on the stand, right? So we can clearly put that guy.
I
believe that I have questions relevant to the case.
Well, if we find out that person is, right? Why not?
No, I'm going to object putting Packer on the stand if you're just going to drill him on irrelevant questions.
Why is it irrelevant?
Because
it could very well be irrelevant.
I mean, if he was actually the fake one, who was
we're getting off topic here.
Yeah. Any more questions?
So, if you were, and I hate to ask you this, but unfortunately, I have been chosen to do a job, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
I get it. You have to push the blame on someone else. I understand.
No, I have to ask questions that are uncomfortable, whether to search of the truth.
You want to get your the defendant off. That's the job of a defense lawyer.
If you were to, how can I word this?
I'm gonna tell the whole truth. You don't need to worry about frying me.
Yes, no, I'm trying to ask a question that is logical, sensible. Do you deny that you would have motive if you were responsible to frame Gorn specifically, if you were to frame someone?
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, so if you were the accomplice,
yes,
you would have motive to frame Gorn, correct?
If I was the accomplice, would I frame Gorn if I was the accomplice?
Yes, that is the question.
I believe I would frame how would I say this? I believe it would be easier to frame Packer because of his multiple personalities.
But you have more of a motive to frame Gorn because he's not your friend, correct?
He's less my friend than I would consider some of the personalities in Mr. Packer or Leon. I'm not friends with a lot of those guys either.
But one among them is at least a good friend to you who you would not be willing to sacrifice.
I would not be willing to sacrifice a lot of people.
Is Gorn among those people?
I wouldn't want to sacrifice Gorn. Yeah, I wouldn't want to sacrifice Gorn. I think he's in his normal state when he's not, you know. I don't want to put words out there.
All right.
But you know what I believe about Gorn's behavior. I think that's clear to the court.
Yes, obviously you've made that very clear.
If Gorn wasn't doing those behaviors, and if he was innocent, then I would not want to sacrifice him willy-nilly.
Do you deny the possibility that any one of us could have been the one to take, and that includes both Sharon and Dr. Banner, could have been the one to take the lie detector from your room?
I believe that you didn't take the lie detector from my room, Victor. I don't think you would do it.
But I had the opportunity, correct?
Opportunity. Yeah, you did. I would say you did, but
Obviously I had no motive.
no motive. Packer just didn't know at the time that I had the lie detector because one of his other personalities.
That's correct.
So only based on your trustworthiness and new level-headedness from the pills and Packer's unknowingness that I had the lie detector, I believed the only ones capable of stealing my lie detector were Gorn and Dr. Banner, and I wasn't sure about Sharon. And so, thus, my suspicions, as you have heard.
Crap, there was one last thing I wanted to ask. What was it?
No more questions?
I'm trying to think what the last question was, but I'll probably just drop it.
Okay. Close. If there's no more witnesses or no more people that you do wish to bring up, you each can give your closing statement.
Okay. You
Yeah,
can
no.
go first, defense.
All
What you
right.
want to do.
Prosecution on his.
And some, I want to go last, if the judge would allow it, since I just got freaking.
Oh, yes. If Victor is okay going first, then he can go first and give his closing arguments.
I feel a bit parched from all the questions I answered.
I understand. You want to have the opportunity to counter me. That's fine. I would.
Naturally.
All right, so I would stand up and I would address the court. Like so, as we've all heard today, we are dealing with a very tangled web that has been woven by two very unrighteous men who wish to see, I believe at the time, all of us hurt. I have no reason to believe that at any point that they knew that Gorn was not responsible for the death of their comrade. And I believe that, in addition, both of them have stated that Gorn would not be their chosen accomplice. I am not sure who their chosen accomplice was. That is what we came here to prove. What we have proved is that, or rather, what we have established is that this courtroom is magical. And that magical courtroom is able to prove if someone is lying or not. And there have been two very interesting things that we have proven through probably the two most important questions of the night. On the morning of the event, neither Gorn nor Jin was in possession of the device used to sabotage the boat. And neither Gorn nor Jin were seen in the room, or they were both seen somewhere outside the room, alongside myself, in a place that would not be conducive to sabotaging the boat. Therefore, it is my deduction that the only crime that was committed by whoever the accomplice was to provide the lie detector to Sharon and or Banner. And that could have been done by any of us. Therefore, I don't believe it's possible to pass judgment on Gorn. You cannot, beyond all shadow of a doubt, say that he is the criminal responsible for this crime. The defense rests.
Mm-hmm. I would get up, I would straighten my jacket. I would say, so what, I think it's important to ask, what standard are we judging this trial by? Now, the defense here would say you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, as in not having any doubts at all in any case, in any way, right? If aliens came down and fucking planted the device, that would be some doubt, and you'd have to, acquit Mr. Gorn here. That's because that's what beyond any shadow of a doubt means. But luckily, that's not the standard we use. The standard we do use in this court is beyond a reasonable doubt. So what does that mean for the court? That means if there are any reasonable doubts that you have about the case, as in you have a reasonable scenario where motive, means, and opportunity are there for someone else, all three, motives, mean, and opportunity for someone else, was there, then that is reasonable doubt. But if there is no one else that have motive, means, and opportunity, and you're just saying aliens came down and planted the device, then that is not reasonable doubt. That is unreasonable doubt. I submit to the court that Mr. Gorn here had motive, means, and opportunity. Let's talk about the motive, right? I think we have demonstrated in testimony that Mr. Gorn's real sin isn't lust. It's actually betrayal. Betrayal through stealing, and betrayal shown on the heresy layer, and I believe betrayal through sabotaging the boat as well. I myself have brought him on the stand, and you have seen how evasive he is with answers, how resistant he is to straight answers, right? I even asked the judge, hey, yes or no answers, please, and yet he still argued and squirmed in front of this court. Motive. What is the motive here? I've talked about Mr. Gorn's sin of betrayal and not lust. Let's recall the Vampire Lair, where Mr. Gorn did not participate in the killing of Mr. Tesla like the rest of the group did. Right? He vehemently disagreed with how we, the group, handled that encounter. Vehemently disagreed with it. That's why he didn't participate in it. He did not participate in the killing of Mr. Tesla. And what do you know? When we entered the Violence Lair, where there was Dr. Banner, right? A fellow colleague of Mr. Tesla, right? That's what we have later learned as a party, that he was a colleague of Mr. Tesla, right? And we all learned together as a group, and we all decided to hide it together as a group. But would that sit right with a man like Mr. Gorn? I don't believe it would. I believe the extra conversation he had, we all had one conversation on the boat. Mr. Gorn had a second conversation with Dr. Banner. And I believe somehow he let it be known that he was not a part of the slaying of Mr. Tesla. That he was on their side and not our side. And that would coincide with his sin of betrayal. Betraying the party, being apart from us, and still being righteous, right? I think that would square with Mr. Gorn's personality. So, I believe he worked with Dr. Banner and Mr. Charon to take the lie detector from my room and plant it not on the morning of, but right before, the night before the boat went down, he planted the device. The defense very cleverly asked, Mr. Gorn, did you have the device the morning of? He said, no, I didn't. I didn't have the device the morning of. Oh, he must be innocent, right? No, nay. He had the device the night of. He planted it the night of. So, motive. Clearly he had the means. And he had the opportunity. I submit to the court. Who else could have done this crime? Who else reasonably could have done this crime? No one else in this court has motive. What's the motive for the rest of us? No one else has a motive to do this crime. Mr. Gorn has motive. He had the means and the opportunity. I rest my case.
I will pause now the recording.